Commander Vexel Nadar's compound eyes reflected the endless void outside the observation deck. The emergency lighting cast an eerie blue glow across the curved carapace of his exoskeleton. 37 cycles adrift. 37 cycles of watching. His crew's hope diminished like their dwindling oxygen reserves. "Commander," First Officer Iris Calzoon's voice crackled through his neural implant. "Engineering reports the quantum drive is beyond repair. The last power cell will fail in approximately 18 hours. Vexel's antennae drooped slightly before he could compose himself. As commander of the Briz-Tool exploration vessel Eternal Seeker, he couldn't afford to display despair. Not now. Not when his crew of 23 needed him most. Understood. Gather the senior officers in the command chamber. The Eternal Seeker had been conducting routine spatial anomaly research in the uncharted Voidreach sector when they'd encountered something their sophisticated Mithran instruments couldn't explain. A ripple in space-time that had fried their quantum drive and hurled them into this empty region of space. No star systems, no outposts, nothing but the infinite black. As Vexil glided through the ship's central corridor, he noticed the deterioration everywhere. Emergency force fields contained hull breaches. Food synthesis units operated at minimal capacity. Most of his crew had entered hibernation protocols to conserve resources. Inside the command chamber, the remaining conscious officers huddled around the holographic display. Their normally vibrant carapaces had dulled to a matte finish, a clear sign of malnutrition and stress among the Briz-Tool. "Options," Vexil stated simply. Chief Engineer Moraldra Ikeen's voice resonated with the distinctive clicking undertones of someone who'd gone too long without proper sustenance. "We've cannibalized everything non-essential. There's nothing left to repurpose." "The distress beacon?" Vexil inquired. Communications Officer Pratik Ven's shoulders slumped. "Still transmitting, but we're broadcasting on all known frequencies into empty space. The nearest Briz-Tool outpost is thousands of light-years away." Science Officer Lyria Zadrox manipulated the holographic star chart with trembling appendages. "I've continued analyzing our position based on stellar cartography. We appear to be on the outskirts of what primitive species call the wild expanse. It's largely uncharted except by—" Her voice trailed off, mandibles clicking nervously. "Except by whom?" Vexil pressed. "Humans," she finished. "Sector 7 might occasionally see human exploration vessels, but they're unpredictable, aggressive, territorial." A collective shudder rippled through the command chamber. Every spacefaring species knew of humans. The upstart species that had somehow survived 3 extinction-level events on their homeworld before achieving FTL travel. Humans hadn't joined the galactic concord like other civilized species. Instead, they'd established their own territories, their own alliances. "Would they even recognize our distress signal?" asked First Officer Calzoon. "Unlikely," Lyria responded. "And if they did, there's no guarantee they would help. Human ships are heavily armed. They might consider us a threat." Vexil tapped his claws against the metallic table, considering their dwindling options. "We maintain broadcast on all frequencies. If we're detected by humans, we transmit universal peace signals immediately." A sharp alert tone cut through the chamber, causing all antennae to stiffen in attention. "Proximity alarm," Pratik announced, his voice rising an octave. "Something's dropping out of FTL nearby." The holographic display shifted, showing a massive object materializing less than 1,000 kilometers from their position. The structure was angular, aggressive, unlike the smooth, biomimetic designs favored by most spacefaring species. "Visual confirmation," whispered Lyria, her compound eyes widening in terror. That's a human warship." The vessel dwarfed the Eternal Seeker by at least 20 times. Its hull was dark gray with crimson markings, bristling with what were unmistakably weapon systems. Strange symbols adorned its side, blocky human script that the translation matrix struggled to process. UNF's Indomitable, the computer finally translated. Vexil felt his hearts racing as the human warship oriented toward them. They were defenseless, powerless. If the humans decided to open fire, there would be nothing left of the Eternal Seeker. But scattered atoms. They're scanning us, Pratik reported, his voice barely audible. Commander Vexil Nadar straightened his posture and faced the view screen. If these were to be the final moments of his crew, he would meet their end with dignity. "They're hailing us," Pratik announced, surprise evident in his voice. Hope, that dangerous emotion Vexil had suppressed for 37 cycles, flickered to life once more. The command chamber of the Eternal Seeker fell silent as the holographic display flickered, rendering a three-dimensional image of the human captain. Unlike the exoskeletal Briz-Tul, humans were soft-bodied creatures with internal support structures, a biological configuration that most spacefaring species found unsettling. This particular human female stood tall with dark skin and closely cropped silver hair. Her uniform was midnight blue with gleaming insignia, suggesting some form of military hierarchy. Most striking were her eyes, alert, calculating, yet containing something the Briz-Tul rarely encountered, curiosity without immediate fear. "This is Captain Loretha Blackburn of the United Nations Federation ship Indomitable," the translation matrix conveyed. "Your vessel appears severely damaged. Do you require assistance?" Vexil exchanged glances with his officers before stepping forward. "I am Commander Vexil Nadar of the Briz-Tul exploration vessel Eternal Seeker. We've been stranded for 37 cycles with critical systems failing. Our quantum drive is irreparable." The human's expression shifted subtly. "Briz-Tul, you're far from your usual territory. A spatial anomaly damaged our systems and displaced us," Vexil explained. "We've been adrift since." Captain Blackburn nodded, her eyes narrowing slightly as she processed this information. "We detected your distress signal during our patrol route. Your life support readings suggest critical failure imminent. 18 hours remaining," Vexil confirmed, feeling strange admitting such vulnerability to a human. The captain turned slightly, speaking to someone off-screen in rapid human language before addressing the Briz-Tul again. "Commander Nadar, we're dispatching a boarding shuttle with our engineering team. They'll assess your situation and provide emergency supplies." Murmurs rippled through the Briz-Tul officers. Humans coming aboard their vessel? It was unprecedented. "Captain," First Officer Calzoon interjected, "with respect, human technological systems are often incompatible with—" "Our engineers are trained in xenotechnology," Blackburn interrupted. "This isn't our first rescue operation beyond Federation. Space. Prepare your docking bay. Shuttle arriving in 20 minutes. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the Briz-Tul officers staring at each other in disbelief. "Can we trust them?" Moraldra asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Vexil's antennae twitched in contemplation. "We have 18 hours of life support remaining. What choice do we have?" The next 20 minutes passed in tense preparation. Those crew members, still in hibernation, were awakened. The ship's database was queried for all available information on human behavior and customs, which was distressingly limited. When the human shuttle docked, the hiss of pressurization echoed through the Eternal. "Seeker's hull!" Vexil and his senior officers stood at the airlock, their postures formal despite their exhaustion. The inner door slid open, revealing 5 humans in fitted environmental suits. They carried large containers of equipment, moving with practiced efficiency. Their leader, a broad-shouldered male with intricate patterns etched into his skin, stepped forward. "Lieutenant Riker Otomo, Chief Engineer of the Indomitable," he announced through his suit's translator. We've brought emergency power cells, atmospheric regulators, and nutrient supplements calibrated for Brizzed tool physiology. Vexil's mandibles clicked in surprise. You came prepared specifically for our species? The human engineer nodded. Captain Blackburn ordered a full species profile pulled from our database the moment we identified your ship. Standard rescue protocol. As the human team dispersed through the vessel, Vexil accompanied Lieutenant Otomo to the engine room. The Briztool watched in fascination as the humans worked with unexpected precision, interfacing their technology with the alien systems of the Eternal Seeker. Your quantum drive is unlike our warp engines, Otomo observed, examining the crystalline core. But the fundamental principles are similar. We can't repair it completely, but we can jerry-rig a temporary solution to get you mobile again. Jerry-rig? The translation matrix struggled with the human idiom. Improvise, Otomo clarified with what appeared to be a facial expression of amusement. It's something humans excel at. Within hours, the emergency lighting aboard the Eternal Seeker brightened to full capacity. Life support stabilized. Food synthesis units hummed with renewed energy. Vexil stood on the observation deck alongside Captain Blackburn, who had transferred aboard once the initial work was complete. The human was smaller than he'd expected from the holographic projection, yet somehow more imposing in person. "Why did you help us?" Vexil finally asked the question that had been troubling him. Briztool and humans have no formal diplomatic relations. Blackburn's gaze remained fixed on the stars beyond the viewport. Does one sentient species need a treaty to help another in distress? Many would say yes, Vexil responded honestly. The human captain turned to face him, her expression serious. Then many would be wrong. The Void doesn't care about our political boundaries, Commander. Out here, we're all just trying to survive. The Eternal Seeker limped alongside the massive human warship, its temporary propulsion system allowing for sublight travel only. Though the Briztool vessel could now maneuver, returning home remained impossible without a functioning quantum drive. In the makeshift conference room, formerly the ship's meditation chamber, Commander Vexil Nadar faced Captain Blackburn across a table hastily adapted to accommodate human physiology. The stark differences between their species had never been more apparent. Her smooth skin against his iridescent exoskeleton, her binocular vision facing his compound eyes. The nearest Federation outpost is 3 weeks away at your current speed, Blackburn explained, manipulating a 3-dimensional star chart hovering between them. We can escort you there, where you'll receive proper repairs and arrangements for your journey home. Vexil's antennae quivered with concern. Captain, such generosity exceeds all reasonable expectations. Why would humans expend such resources on a non-allied species? Blackburn leaned back, studying the Briztool commander. You still don't trust our intentions. Forgive my directness, but your species has a reputation for complexity and motivation. The Galactic Concord has documented human history extensively. A sound emerged from Blackburn that the translation matrix identified as laughter. I've read those documents. Unpredictable, potentially hazardous. Observe extreme caution when engaging. Yet here you are, helping us. Let me tell you, something about humans that those documents miss, Commander. Blackburn's expression grew serious. Our history is violent. We don't deny it. But it taught us something crucial. No species survives alone. The void is too vast, too dangerous. Their conversation was interrupted as the door slid open, admitting Lieutenant Otomo and Science Officer Lyria. The human engineer's excitement was palpable even to Briztool senses. Captain, Commander, we've made a breakthrough, Otomo announced. With Officer Zadrox's assistance, we've identified the anomaly that damaged the Eternal Seeker. Lyria manipulated her datapad, projecting a complex energy pattern. It appears to be a previously undocumented spatial phenomenon, a quantum filament with properties similar to both cosmic strings and subspace rifts. The BrizTool science database contained theoretical models we've never encountered, Otomo added. Combined with our practical experience with similar phenomena, we believe we can not only repair their quantum drive, but improve it. Captain Blackburn raised an eyebrow. Sharing propulsion technology requires Federation Council approval. Not if we classify it as emergency repair using indigenous technology, Otomo countered. The BrizTool designs are already more efficient than ours in some aspects. We'd just be implementing their existing specifications with our materials. Vexil watched this exchange with growing fascination. Humans debated openly with their superiors, challenging authority without fear of repercussion. A concept foreign to the hierarchical BrizTool society. Proceed with the repairs, Blackburn authorized. Work with Officer Zadrox's team. As the meeting concluded, Vexil found himself walking the corridors of his vessel alongside Captain Blackburn. Human engineering teams worked seamlessly with his crew, the initial wariness having evolved into cautious collaboration. May I ask a personal question, Captain? Vexil ventured. Go ahead. The markings on Lieutenant Otomo's skin, they hold significance? Blackburn nodded. Tattoos. They tell the story of his family's history. Many humans use their bodies as living records of their journeys. And your vessel's name, Indomitable. What does it signify? That which cannot be conquered or overcome. A reminder that no matter how dire the circumstances, we persist. She paused, studying him. Does the Eternal Seeker name hold similar meaning? Indeed, the BrizTool believed knowledge is an endless pursuit. We seek eternally, never attaining complete understanding. Our species might have more in common than either government acknowledges, Blackburn observed. Before Vexil could respond, the ship's alarm systems activated. Red emergency lighting bathed the corridor as First Officer Calzoon's voice came through the communication system. Commander! Captain! Multiple unidentified vessels just dropped out of FTL. They're on an intercept course. They rushed to the command chamber, where the holographic display showed 7 predatory-looking ships surrounding both the Eternal Seeker and the Indomitable. Their design was instantly recognizable to Vexil. Kravak's Raiders, he breathed, his exoskeleton paling. Pirates who prey on disabled vessels. Blackburn's posture changed instantly, her previous diplomatic demeanor replaced by military precision. How did they find you? Our distress beacon, First Officer Calzoon realized. It's been broadcasting for weeks. The largest Kravak's vessel transmitted a message that appeared on the holographic display. The translator rendered the pirate captain's ultimatum in harsh, clipped tones. Surrender vessels and prepare for boarding. Resistance means destruction. Captain Blackburn's expression hardened as she activated her communication device. Blackburn to Indomitable. Battle stations. Deploy defensive formation Delta 6 around the BrizTool vessel. Vexil watched in awe as the massive human warship moved into position, placing itself between the Eternal Seeker and the approaching raiders. You would risk your ship for ours? Vexil asked, mandibles clicking in disbelief. Captain Blackburn's reply was simple. That's what humans do. The command chamber of the Eternal Seeker transformed into an impromptu battle center as Captain Blackburn coordinated with her vessel. Commander Vexil watched in fascination as the human officer operated with calm efficiency despite the escalating crisis. Kravak's vessel's approaching weapons range, First Officer Calzoon reported, her antennae rigid with tension. The holographic display showed the Indomitable deploying what appeared to be smaller craft, fighters, according to the BrizTool database, on human military capabilities. Captain, the raiders outnumber us, Vexil observed. Even your impressive warship cannot engage all 7 simultaneously. Blackburn's lips curved upward. We don't need to engage all 7. We just need to convince them we're not worth the trouble. She activated her communicator. Blackburn to Indomitable. Execute Thunderhead Protocol. Within moments, the space between the vessels erupted with blinding electromagnetic pulses that scrambled the Eternal Seeker's sensors. When the interference cleared, Vexel saw that the human warship had deployed dozens of small objects around both vessels. Proximity mines, Captain Blackburn explained. Non-lethal but highly disruptive to navigation systems, creates uncertainty, and pirates hate uncertainty. The lead Kravax vessel fired warning shots that dissipated harmlessly against the Indomitable's shields. The human warship responded with precision targeting that disabled the weapons array on the pirate ship without destroying it. Impressive restraint, Vexel noted. We're not here to massacre them, Blackburn responded, just to establish consequences. The Kravax commander appeared again on the communication channel, his serpentine features contorted with rage. This is not your territory, human. The damaged vessel is our legitimate salvage. This vessel is under Federation protection, Blackburn replied calmly. The crew are our guests. Withdraw now, and no formal charges will be filed with the Galactic. Concord regarding attempted piracy against an allied species. Vexel's compound eyes widened. The claim of alliance was completely false, yet delivered with such conviction that even he almost believed it. The Kravax hesitated, clearly reassessing the situation. After tense moments of silence, the pirate vessels began retreating, their formation breaking as they disappeared back into FTL jumps. They left, Science Officer Lyria stated, disbelief evident in her voice. Raiders seek easy targets, Captain Blackburn explained as she deactivated the tactical display. We simply had to convince them we weren't one. A communication from Lieutenant Otomo interrupted the moment of relief. Captain, Commander, we've completed our analysis of the quantum drive. With your permission, we'd like to begin the modification process immediately. Proceed, both leaders authorized simultaneously, then exchanged looks of surprise at their synchronicity. Over the next 72 hours, the Eternal Seeker underwent a remarkable transformation. Human engineers worked tirelessly alongside Brizatul technicians, their different approaches to problem-solving, creating innovative solutions neither species would have developed alone. Commander Vexel found Lieutenant Otomo in the engine room, where the quantum drive's crystalline matrix now glowed with renewed energy, infused with human-manufactured stabilizing elements. Your modifications will increase our efficiency by nearly 40%, Vexel observed, reviewing the diagnostic readings. This exceeds original factory specifications. Otomo wiped perspiration from his forehead, a human biological response to exertion that still fascinated the Brizatul. We incorporated some principles from your theoretical models that our engineers never considered. The crystalline resonance pattern you use is brilliant. We've always forced matter through space. You found a way to persuade it. An intriguing metaphor, Vexel replied. Perhaps that summarizes the difference in our approaches. Humans command, Brizatul harmonize. And together we make something better than either could alone, Otomo concluded. As they completed the final calibrations, Captain Blackburn entered the engine room with First Officer Calzoun. The human captain inspected the modifications with evident approval. The drive will be ready for testing within 6 hours, Otomo reported. Excellent work, Lieutenant. Blackburn turned to Vexel. Once verified, you'll be able to return to Brizatul, space without our escort. Your vessel will actually outperform its original specifications. Vexel's antennae drooped slightly. You will not accompany us further? We've received new orders, Blackburn explained. The Indomitable is needed elsewhere, but will remain until your drive is fully operational. That evening, as the Eternal Seeker's systems hummed with renewed vitality, Commander Vexel called together his entire crew. The 23 Brizatul gathered in the communal chamber, their exoskeletons now regaining their healthy luster after proper nutrition and reduced stress. We have survived what seemed an impossible situation, Vexel addressed them. Not through our own resources, but through the unexpected intervention of a species we had been taught to fear. I believe we must reconsider many of our assumptions about humans. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the gathering. Several crew members had formed working relationships with the human engineers, some even attempting to learn basic human gestures and expressions. Tomorrow we test our enhanced quantum drive, Vexil continued. Soon after, we will return to Briztool space. When we do, we will carry not only scientific data from our original mission, but a new understanding of humanity that contradicts official doctrine. First Officer Calzoon stepped forward. Commander, I propose we formally request that the Council of Elders reconsider diplomatic relations with the Human Federation. Seconded, came the immediate response from Science Officer Lyria. Their scientific approach complements ours in unprecedented ways. One by one, the entire crew voiced their support, a consensus that would carry significant weight when presented to the Briztool leadership. As the meeting concluded, Vexil returned to the observation deck. Captain Blackburn stood there alone, gazing at the stars. Your crew has voted to advocate for formal diplomatic relations upon our return, Vexil informed her. Blackburn nodded. Mine has submitted similar recommendations to Federation Command. Will they listen? Politicians move slowly, Commander. But explorers and warriors, we're the ones who forge the first connections. She turned to face him. Whatever comes next, remember this. You've seen the true face of humanity now. Not perfect, not without flaws, but always, always reaching out into the darkness. The quantum drive hummed with a harmonious resonance that Commander Vexil had never heard from the engine before. The crystalline matrix, reinforced with human-engineered stabilizers, pulsed with an intensity that registered well beyond the original specifications. All systems optimized, Chief Engineer Moraldra reported, her carapace gleaming under the restored lighting. Ready to initiate quantum jump sequence. The command chamber bustled with activity as both Briztool and human personnel made final preparations. Captain Blackburn stood beside Vexil at the central console, her presence now a comfortable familiarity rather than an alien intrusion. Test jump coordinates set for the Lyrian Expanse, First Officer Calzoon announced. It's uninhabited, but only a short distance away, ideal for verifying drive stability. Vexil's compound eyes focused on the holographic countdown. Initiate on my mark. 3, 2, 1, engage. The familiar sensation of quantum displacement enveloped the ship, but where it had once felt like being stretched across multiple dimensions, the modified drive created a smooth transition that barely registered on their bodies. The view screen flashed momentarily before revealing a new starfield. Position confirmed, Science Officer Lyria announced with undisguised excitement. We've arrived at the exact target coordinates with zero drift. Jump completed in 4.3 seconds, a 62% improvement over previous efficiency. Spontaneous clicking, the Briztool equivalent of applause, filled the command chamber. Even the human engineers joined in the celebration, Lieutenant Otomo grinning broadly as diagnostic data scrolled across his tablet. The modifications exceeded all projections, Otomo reported. Your ship can now travel farther, faster, and with significantly less energy consumption than before. Captain Blackburn nodded approvingly. Prepare for return jump to our original position. Let's verify consistency before we conclude the test phase. The return jump proceeded flawlessly, bringing them back alongside the Indomitable. As the celebration continued, Vexil noticed Captain Blackburn receiving a communication through her earpiece. Her expression changed subtly, almost imperceptibly to most, but Vexil had grown adept at reading human micro-expressions. Is something wrong, Captain? He inquired when they had a moment of privacy. Blackburn hesitated before responding. We've received an urgent dispatch from Federation Command. The Indomitable is being recalled immediately to respond to a situation in the Cygnus sector. I understand. Your duty calls. Vexel's antennae dipped slightly. "We are prepared to continue independently now, thanks to your assistance." "There's more." Blackburn's voice lowered. "The situation involves a Briztool science outpost near the Federation border. They've reported detecting the same type of spatial anomaly that damaged your vessel." Vexel's exoskeleton stiffened. "Are they in danger?" "Unknown. But Federation Command believes our combined experience with the phenomenon could be crucial." She met his gaze directly. "They've authorized me to invite you to accompany us." The proposition was unprecedented. A Briztool vessel joining a human. Military operation? It violated countless protocols on both sides. "This would require council approval," Vexel stated, though his tone lacked conviction. "By the time you request permission and receive a response, it may be too late for the outpost." Blackburn's expression was solemn. "Commander, sometimes we must act first and seek forgiveness later." That human sentiment, so contrary to Briztool philosophy of careful deliberation, resonated with something that had been growing in Vexel since their rescue. He gathered his senior officers, presenting the situation without bias. To his surprise, the discussion was brief, and the decision unanimous. "We have first-hand experience with this anomaly," First Officer Calzoon argued. "Our knowledge could save lives. Briztool lives." And, added Science Officer Lyria, "this presents an unprecedented opportunity to study the phenomenon with combined resources." 4 hours later, the Eternal Seeker entered formation with the Indomitable as both vessels prepared for synchronized quantum jumps to the Cygnus sector. The human warship's massive engines powered up, its hull gleaming under the distant starlight. "Jump. Coordinates locked," First Officer Calzoon confirmed. "Synchronized timing established with the Indomitable." Vexel opened a communication channel. "Captain Blackburn, the Eternal Seeker is prepared to jump on your mark." "Acknowledged, Commander." "Nadar." The human captain's voice carried that distinctive blend of authority and comradeship that Vexel had come to recognize. "Let's make history together. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The synchronized quantum transition felt like sailing on a perfect current. When they emerged, the starfield had transformed dramatically. Ahead loomed a massive swirling distortion in space, visibly similar to what had damaged the Eternal Seeker, but exponentially larger. Near the anomaly's perimeter hovered a distinctive structure with the curved, organic architecture characteristic of Briztool design, Outpost Krelzine, one of their most remote scientific installations. "No response to hails," Communications Officer Pratik reported, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Life support appears functional but minimal." The holographic display showed the anomaly's tendrils gradually extending toward the station, electromagnetic, discharges arcing across its outer hull barriers. "Their shields are failing," Lieutenant Otomo observed from his temporary station on the Briztool Bridge. "That pattern matches what we saw in your engine logs, progressive quantum destabilization." Captain Blackburn's voice came through the communication channel. "Commander, we're detecting 27 life signs aboard the station. Their primary power matrix is critically unstable." "Options?" Vexel asked, addressing both his crew and the human officers. Science Officer Lyria manipulated the sensor array, analyzing the anomaly with instruments enhanced by human modifications. "The phenomenon appears to be feeding on the specific frequency of Briztool power systems. It's attracted to our quantum harmonics." "Can we adjust our frequencies to repel it?" Vexil asked. "Not quickly enough to save the station," Lyria responded. "Lieutenant." Otomo stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the readings. "What if we don't repel it? What if we redirect it?" All compound eyes turned toward the human engineer. "Explain," Vexil prompted. "The modifications we made to your quantum drive, they operate on a different harmonic pattern than standard Briztool technology. If we generate a controlled quantum pulse at precisely the right frequency..." We could draw the anomaly away from the station, Lyria finished, her antennae quivering with excitement. But the vessel generating that pulse would be putting itself directly in harm's way. Captain Blackburn's voice interrupted. The Indomitable's shields are significantly stronger than either your vessel or the station. We'll generate the pulse. With respect, Captain, Otomo countered. The Eternal Seeker's modified drive produces exactly the quantum signature we need. The Indomitable can't replicate it. A heavy silence fell over the command chamber as the implications became clear. To save the research station, the Eternal Seeker would need to place itself in extreme danger. My ship, Vexil stated firmly. My decision. Prepare the quantum pulse. Approaching optimal position, First Officer Calzoun announced as the Eternal. Seeker maneuvered between the research station and the growing anomaly. The Indomitable had taken position on the opposite side, its weapons charged and targeting systems locked onto the spatial distortion, though whether conventional weaponry would have any effect remained unknown. Commander Vexil stood at the center of his command chamber, surrounded by both Brizitul and human officers working in perfect synchronicity. In the few days since their rescue, former strangers had become a unified team. Quantum pulse configured to emit at inverse frequency to the anomaly's resonance pattern, Lieutenant Otomo reported, his fingers dancing across the adapted control interface. Once initiated, we'll have approximately 20 seconds to evacuate the station before the anomaly fully redirects toward us. Indomitable has dispatched transport shuttles, Captain Blackburn's voice informed them. They're preparing to dock with the research station now. Vexil's antennae twitched nervously as he watched the massive spatial distortion on the view screen. Its swirling energies reminded him of ancient Brizitul legends about the Void Devourer, a mythical entity that consumed stars. Commence evacuation sequence, he ordered. Prepare quantum pulse on my mark. The minutes that followed unfolded with tense precision. Human shuttles docked with the Brizitul research station, evacuating the bewildered scientists who had never expected to see humans and Brizitul working together. The Indomitable extended its shields as far as possible, creating a protective corridor for the evacuation craft. Final transport away from the station, Communications Officer Pratik announced. All 27 scientists accounted for. Anomaly expansion rate increasing, Science Officer Lyria warned. The station's outer sections are beginning to destabilize at the molecular level. Vexil made the decision instantly. Initiate quantum pulse now! The modified engine core surged with brilliant energy as it emitted a precisely calibrated pulse, visible as a rippling wave of iridescent light that expanded outward from the Eternal Seeker. When it contacted the anomaly, the effect was immediate and dramatic. The spatial distortion writhed like a living thing, its tendrils withdrawing from the research station and reorienting toward the source of the pulse. "It's working, Lieutenant," Otomo exclaimed. "The anomaly is being drawn to our harmonic signature." "All vessels, clear the area," Captain Blackburn commanded. "Commander Nadar, you have 10 seconds to reach minimum safe distance." The Eternal Seeker's engines strained as they pushed the vessel away from the approaching anomaly, but Vexil could see from the trajectory calculations that they wouldn't escape in time. The quantum pulse had worked too well, creating an attraction too powerful to outrun. "We won't clear the perimeter," First Officer Calzoun stated what everyone already knew. Vexil's compound eyes met Lieutenant Otomo's human ones. An understanding passed between them, the kind that transcends species. "What if we don't run?" the human engineer suggested. "What if we go through it instead?" "Explain quickly," Vexil prompted. "The modified quantum drive operates on principles similar to the anomaly itself. If we engage full quantum jump while inside the distortion, using the anomaly's own energy to boost our jump, we might be able to ride the wave rather than be consumed by it." Science Officer Lyria's calculations appeared instantly on the holographic display. Theoretically possible, but completely untested, The power requirements would exceed our core capacity by at least 200%. The Indomitable can provide the additional power, Captain Blackburn interjected, having overheard the exchange. We'll establish an energy transfer beam. There's no time to calculate a destination, First Officer Calzoun warned. Vexel's mandibles clicked decisively. We don't need a destination. We just need to survive. The anomaly's perimeter engulfed the Eternal Seeker just as the energy transfer from the Indomitable reached them. The ship's structure groaned under impossible stresses as reality itself seemed to bend around them. Quantum drive at 350% capacity! Chief Engineer Moraldra's voice rose above the chaos. Core stability failing! Now, Vexel commanded. Lieutenant Otomo and Moraldra activated the jump sequence simultaneously. The Eternal Seeker shuddered violently as the quantum drive engaged within the heart of the anomaly. Blinding light flooded the command chamber. Gravity failed. For a terrible moment, Vexel felt his very atoms trying to separate. Then, silence. Darkness. The emergency systems gradually reactivated, restoring minimal lighting. Status report, Vexel demanded, his voice barely audible over the ringing in his auditory receptors. We're alive, First Officer Calzoun responded, sounding equally surprised and relieved. Hull integrity at 62%. Life support functional. But what? Science Officer Lyria's voice trembled with awe. Commander, you need to see this! The view screen flickered to life, revealing a star field unlike anything any of them had ever witnessed. Massive stellar formations in impossible colors stretched before them, spatial geometry that defied known physics. Where are we? Vexel whispered. According to our navigational systems, nowhere recognizable, Lyria answered. These star patterns match nothing in our database. We appear to have traveled beyond our galactic boundary. The silence that followed was broken by the communication system activating. Captain Blackburn's voice came through, distorted but recognizable. Eternal Seeker, do you copy? Commander Nadar, respond. We hear you, Captain, Vexel replied. Though, I'm not certain how communication is possible across what must be an enormous distance. The anomaly has collapsed, taking the research station with it, Blackburn informed them. But our sensors detect a tunneling effect, some kind of quantum entanglement between our positions. We can still communicate, possibly even establish coordinates for your return. Lieutenant Otomo studied the readings with widening eyes. Commander, Captain, I believe we've inadvertently discovered a new form of interstellar travel. The anomaly wasn't a natural phenomenon at all. It was a gateway. A gateway to what? First Officer Calzoun asked. To everywhere, Lyria breathed, her scientific curiosity overwhelming even her fear. The readings suggest we've discovered a network of quantum filaments connecting distant points in space, perhaps even different galaxies. Vexel's antennae straightened with sudden understanding. This is why our species were destined to meet. Neither humans nor Briztool alone would have discovered this, or survived the discovery. It required both our approaches, your courage to charge into the unknown, our harmony with quantum states. Over the following days, as the Eternal Seeker worked with the distant Indomitable to plot a return course through the quantum network, Commander Vexel found himself contemplating the vastness of the universe with new perspective. When they finally re-emerged into known space near the human vessel, they brought with them knowledge that would forever change both civilizations. The Briztool High Council and the Human Federation signed their first official alliance treaty within a month, the fastest diplomatic process in recorded history. The Eternal Seeker and the Indomitable became the flagships of a joint exploration initiative, their crews the pioneers of a new era of interspecies cooperation. The quantum network they had discovered opened pathways to regions of space previously thought unreachable for millennia. Commander Vexil Nadar stood on the observation deck of the newly refitted Eternal Seeker, watching as a fleet of human and Bristol vessels prepared for the first official expedition through a stabilized quantum gateway. Beside him stood Captain Laretha Blackburn, now his equal partner in the Joint Command. When we were stranded in the infinite black, Vexil mused, I believed we were facing extinction. Instead, we found not just rescue, but a new beginning for both our species. Captain Blackburn smiled, the expression no longer alien to Vexil's understanding. That's the thing about the void, Commander. It's not empty at all. It's full of possibilities, if you're willing to reach out into the darkness and find someone reaching back, Vexil finished. Together, they gave the order that would launch their vessels not just across space, but into history. Two different species united by the simple, profound truth that even in the infinite black, no one need journey alone.